Welcome to the Heavy Lifts podcast. This is the show for those who seek opportunity and embrace the risk to build it. I am your host, Nat Borchers. You can find me on backlinerealestate.com if you want to find out more about what my team and I are doing in the Salem, Oregon community. Welcome to Heavy Lifts. I'm Nat Borchers, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, back again, AJ Nash,
Welcome
the
back.
transmitter. I want to tell a story, if I can, before we introduce Mr. Matt Holstege, who's a friend of ours and an awesome guy, about AJ's nickname. So we were at AJ's looking at me.
Yeah.
We were at a Timbers game a few years ago, and we had rented a box. And so we had like a nice, just view of the field. Everybody was having a good time before the game. People were getting to know each other. Matt, you'd been invited. You brought your boss, Bruce, who is a fantastic guy. Who Bruce has been around the real estate game for just years and years, and has like such a fun story. I'd love to have him on. At some point too. And I just remember, Bruce and AJ had a conversation. I went over to Bruce just to check on him, see if he was okay after the conversation. And I was like, how are you doing, Bruce? How's everything going after that conversation? He says, well, yeah, Nat, I'll tell you what. He's like, when that boy was born, he was born with a transmitter without a receiver. So
That's stuck ever since.
It's just like the transmitter is here. The transmitter is here. And I am also grateful for you to be on, Mr. Matt Holstege, because we got a lot of history in terms of our friendship, and like for me, I feel like you have been a bit of like a mentor to me when it comes to like just big picture stuff with my real estate business, because you're in operations and you have like so much construction background, you have so many good contacts. And I've been like, whenever I've been kind of like flailing my arms around, as we all do in business, like you've been there to bring me under in your wing just to see like, hey, this is how we do things, this is maybe best practices. So,
Thanks. It's been fun.
Yeah. So I really appreciate that. Where should we start with Mr. Holstege? AJ, what do you think?
I think we go back to the beginning, but maybe a common theme.
Okay.
So before you got into construction, before you got into real estate, let's talk soccer. We got two center backs back here, clearly similar levels, right? Clearly similar levels.
Maybe not the best looking center backs, but
And so you from Salem, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Give us your...
We moved here. My family moved here, going in late 80s. So junior high school from Los Angeles County. And
How old were you?
gosh, I was going into the 8th grade. So whatever age that would be.
From LA.
Yeah. So it was interesting.
So going in 8th grade, so just pre-high school from LA County to Salem, Oregon.
Yeah.
What high school so I can judge?
Judson and then Sprague.
The Judson and then Sprague.
Yeah, we
How
moved
was
here,
that
like,
transition?
The day before Judson started, I got sent to school, and
Wait.
they didn't like California kids then. So
Well, yeah. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, when I moved here 10 years ago, there was a lot of folks moving from California. I think there still are, and there was like just this whole thing about like keep Californians out. I heard, and like all this other stuff, which was like nonsense. But like coming from LA County, like the big city, like where in LA?
we moved around a lot between Bellflower, Long Beach, Lakewood, Cerritos, that area.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, different climate, different vibe. What did you think of when you showed up at high school that first day?
It was weird. Everybody looked the same. It was weird.
Okay. So you were probably it was probably more of a melting pot where you were. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was different. It took me a while to kind of figure out my comfort zone here and who I am and get comfortable with myself, because it was weird. But
So you played soccer, right?
yeah,
This was so, and then back in the day, you guys like high school had a program, and
Sprague had a program.
okay.
I played on one of the club teams, and then I also played volleyball. And unfortunately, I was lazy. So I wasn't as good at soccer as I was at volleyball. I didn't think I had to work that hard. So, I was a late bloomer in that regards. But yeah, I did a lot of club volleyball and soccer and stuff like that.
And your position on the park, where did you think you fit?
Oh gosh, where did I think I fit? I always thought, well, I'm right-footed, I should be on the outside.
Okay.
But then I quickly realized I wasn't fast enough.
Got it.
So, but the vision, distributing the ball, setting people up. So then I kind of migrated towards that spot, and that's right at the
Number 10.
yeah.
Got it.
That's kind of where I was more comfortable.
Cocky California kid, a little bit lazy, good vision. He can hide in the middle of the park and he can not put in the fitness, right?
It's a nice tan too. It's the better tan that we do.
And that's before they had those like little bands that you could wear that showed your work rate on the field.
Yeah. Well,
That
thank
would have
God
exposed
those
you.
didn't exist.
That would have exposed you.
You see this one little circle and it moves.
My heat side was like this.
It's a very small heat map. There's not a lot of heat in here. But then so I'm curious, were you like a better passer or a better finisher?
Passer, 100%.
Okay.
Still, I wish I could hit the ball like some of the guys I see, but
Yeah. Well, we all do when we're AJ and I were in the back, so we all wish we had that.
when you hear that thump when somebody hits it,
Oh, yeah.
So after Sprague, what was the next step?
I went to Chemeketa for a year, and then I went to Whitworth
Okay.
up in Spokane,
Okay.
and lived with a couple of guys who were on the team.
Whitworth. So is this like what division is this?
That was NAI.
D3,
Yeah.
NAI at that time,
Yeah.
same as Willamette.
Moved
Yeah.
to Division 3, yep.
Okay.
And then I got into the athletic training program.
Okay.
I played, in the off season with some of the guys and stuff like that. And it's one of those things where the coach was like, you could probably play, but you won't play, And I was like, well, then I'm going to focus on school and studies and just play with my friends, off season and have fun.
And what were the studies? What were you focusing
Sports medicine.
on? Okay.
Yep. So sports medicine, kinesiology.
Okay. What was there like a particular reason? Were you like drawn to that for like a family reason or anything, or just?
I love sports.
Yeah.
I love being around it. I love the community, the culture it builds. So I'm just drawn to it.
Okay. I mean, that is, and where you're at now, it's just like, it's just so interesting. So were you like working during like college? Did you have like any like odd jobs or anything like that?
Oh yeah, but so your second year, you apply, and there was I think 100-something kids applied, and there's 7 of us got accepted to the training room to work in the training room. So had to do that that was a 2-year rotation. You get your hours, so you can take your NATAs and all that stuff. But to get for money for the side hustle, I would cut hair in the dorm. I drove a mail truck from the campus to the post office, delivering and picking up mail.
Cutting hair and delivering mail.
Yeah.
Actually sounds all right.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So,
You know what he wasn't doing? Using the shovel and out of the construction site.
yeah.
I'm just so curious how this
Smells
mentality.
I know. Lazy number 10. Mail and cutting hair. Right? Slack it.
But entrepreneurial, he's clearly finding a purpose and a value, right?
Yeah,
He's just
I was
avoiding
finding my path.
He's using his brain more than his back. That's probably what's got you here.
True.
Took me a while to learn that.
Yeah, we're still learning those lessons. So, all right. So then at what year did you graduate from college? Or did you graduate?
97, and those 2 years in the training room kind of changed my mentality, my work rate. I realized you got to work hard, you got to commit. And so that was really, Russ Richardson was the head trainer there, and he kind of changed my path because he really instilled in me the fact that you've got to commit, you got to work hard, you got to put it in, and it's okay to fail. You're going to fail, and you just pick yourself up and do it again. So from there, they encouraged me to apply for graduate assistantships to get my master's. So I ended up at Florida International University as a graduate assistant trainer there. And because of my soccer background and everything else, I was a natural fit, so I became the soccer trainer. In Munga.
Munga, yeah.
Yes,
Munga,
that was our-
yeah.
That's our first connection.
That's right.
Yep. Munga
Yeah.
was the assistant coach.
Yeah, so Munga, when I was when I was in high school and I was looking at colleges, Munga I think he was the head coach at that point in time.
Yeah, he might have been.
Robin Frazier was a friend of mine, playing professionally. He had gone to FIU.
Yep.
And so I got a call from Munga, a recruiting call, right? But he didn't go after me all that hard, and so I never actually like let you know about
He's worried he's gonna burn in that sun.
Yeah, oh, yeah, he knew. No, he knew right away. He would be like, this kid's too pale for this sun. There's no way it's gonna last. But so you were there. I didn't know you actually. That's right. You were there 2 years.
3.
3 years.
So I got the assistant trainer left, so I applied for that job, and so I stayed for another year. So I got my graduate degree, and then stayed there for a year as assistant trainer. So I worked with as a graduate assistant. I worked with the soccer team, and then I ended up with the basketball team as the assistant trainer. So
It's so weird to think of you as like a trainer. Yeah. Like I don't know, just like in your position now, just like it kind of boggles my mind. What did you learn? I'm just curious. Like when I've had many trainers over my professional career, and the amount of energy you have to give to another human being because these athletes are consistently like getting broken, right?
Yeah.
You have to help heal them. The transfer of energy is like just seems like so great. How did you manage that? Did you learn to get a customer service? Like
that's a good point. Probably, I really learned that there's an emotional component to it. Obviously, these guys and women are totally invested in their college careers, and that's why they're there. A lot of them is for their chosen sport, and so they put everything they have into that, and then you get broken, and there's emotional component to that as well. So you not only are you trying to fix them physically, but you're also there to support and rebuild that emotional component. So the sports psychology stuff always came in handy. But yeah, I think you're right. That never thinking about that before. I think that really did play a lot into how do you connect with people, and especially at FIU, they're from all over the world. We got, especially on the soccer team, we have kids from Africa, Europe, South America, Central America, the Caribbean. So you got to find ways to connect with everybody, different cultures, different languages, different everything. And so you just start learning how to, find those commonalities. And so it really was a lot of fun. And that's kind of like what drives me now with my role with the soccer club and stuff, is just seeing a whole team of people from all over the world figure out that commonality, that goal. And then, they dive in and the whole season is spent on accomplishing a goal.
Yeah.
And they had nothing in common before that, and so.
So help me reconcile something. I'm doing some math in my head. So LA County,
Yeah.
Salem, Spokane. Okay, so you found the climate,
Yeah.
and then you went into, let's call it, lack of diversity,
Yeah.
and lack of sunshine and vitamin D, and then you found your way out again. And you found your way out, and you're in Florida. You're doing what you love. You're connecting with people of all different types. You've got vitamin D galore.
Yeah.
How do you find yourself back in Salem?
Good question. There's so many things I loved about it there. But the one thing that kept nagging at me, I'd gotten engaged, and I realized on what I was making there, I was not going to be able to support a family. And then my dad had always been self-employed, and he's had his ups and downs. But the thing that was always instilled in me is the harder you work, the more money you should make. And, that just isn't the case when you're working in my position. And so it was in the back of my mind all the time. And so finally I had that talk with my dad, and I said, I got to figure something out because I'm engaged. I would like to have a family, and I don't want to just get by. I want to be able to really provide for him. And so he said, well, if you want, you can, come back to Salem, and I'll teach you, about real estate, things like that. And, kind of start over. So that's what I did.
So your dad. So what was your dad doing?
He was he had his real estate license, and he was representing a pretty large builder out of the Wilsonville area that was building in Salem. And he was also getting into the development himself, where he would try and find bare dirt, develop it into subdivisions, sell it off to builders. So he had done pretty well with all that, and so it was one of those things where I thought it's a complete change from what I'm doing now. But I had job offers to go to Philadelphia, back to Spokane, and a couple others as trainer, as an athletic trainer, and I just didn't want to do it. So.
Yeah. And you convinced your wife to be. How'd you sell that?
I asked her, I said, what do you want to do? I can go to Philadelphia work for the surgeon that we know and run his clinic, or we can go to Oregon. And she said, I want to be with my family.
Great.
I said, okay, that answers that. So,
Oh, great. Yeah. Well,
so that's what we did.
incredible. And your wife Tracy, where's she from? Originally?
Ottawa, Canada. We weren't going there.
No.
So there's
Yeah.
no opportunity there.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. So you come back here. You're working for your dad.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Got
so
my
like,
real estate license.
so you're brokering transactions. You're not in construction world yet.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm helping him with that builder, the builder that's from Wilsonville, Beacon Homes. They don't build homes anymore, but I'm helping him with that account and just learning the ropes of real estate transactions, all that stuff. But then I'm starting to kind of get the bug. I really like what Peter's doing with Beacon Homes. I'm like, okay. So I started talking to him like, I want to learn what you guys do now, and because they do subdivisions, big ones, and they and so I thought, hey, I want to learn this guy's role. So, and he's a great guy. So he would start talking to me, teaching me stuff, and so I started gravitating towards what they did.
Interesting. So you self-developer. You said,
Yeah.
I want to do maybe what he does.
Yeah.
The way he's got his credit.
Oh no.
I knew I had to get my hands dirty and start working. And so, so with the construction, I actually, jumped in on some of that. I wasn't, you want to talk about jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, I love this. I'm trying to the human condition, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to heavy lifts, right? When you're taking a community, and CFC is a good example of this too. You're training humans. Like you've just pointed out something. Your curiosity and your desire of I want to learn this.
Yeah.
Kind of started with a purpose. You had a different motivation until such time as you wanted to provide for a family. So that was maybe a part of that motivation. But even before providing for a family existed, there was that provide for yourself. Maybe like, all right, if I'm going to get ahead.
Yeah.
And then it lands on, moving across country, coming back to an area, sure, family, but to grow opportunity. I love what you said about like what stuck with you is there's jobs out there where no matter how hard you work, there's like a ceiling. And then there's jobs out there that if you work 2.5 times as hard as anyone else on earth, you can make 2.5 times as much for the effort.
Create value.
In theory, right? I'd say I put in a lot of spending hours that didn't quite add up exactly that way, but and then there's this there's this component of like how do you plant that seed in a community? How did you with how you got here, how do you build that curiosity? And maybe I'm going too far ahead, but I think with CFC, building that curiosity of self-improvement.
Yeah. That is one of my driving forces of why I'm involved in coaching now and all that stuff is because I saw, or I look back and I see my flaws, right? I could have actually been a fairly good player, probably done something. I became a fairly good player later in my early 20s, late 20s. But if I had actually applied myself and taken the chance to fail, and be okay with failing and learning from people and learning from failure, probably I could have done more and had more fun with some of that stuff. But that's not just in sports, that's anything in life.
So wait, so pause. So did you not take those chances as a player for a reason? Was there a reason? Did it just not click
I didn't
with you
want
as
to
a
fail.
younger? So you were just scared.
Yeah, I was scared. And so also, it's one of those things where the harder you work, but it doesn't pan out, in my mind, the worse I would look. So I would always hold back. I wouldn't always give 100%. Because if I failed, then I'm looking at myself in the mirror. So I didn't like that when I was younger. So I'm trying to tell people now, that's okay.
Yeah.
My kids, anybody that'll listen to me, it's like, I want you to fail. You're going to learn from it.
Well, and from the flip side, like when you're on the leadership role, effort, even though misplaced effort, you can get rinsed. You and I both know that, right? You can work as hard as you want for 85 minutes, but in that one moment, you can get rinsed. But effort is still recognized by leadership. Effort is a common connector that I think any athlete that is put in, because even to get to where you were at, don't discount yourself. Like where you were at, that's already a level of effort that's beyond.
Yeah. And it's respect of your teammates and your coaches, and they see it.
But the additional effort that we're not even discussing at this point, which is my curiosity, is you put in the effort to say, hey, builder, let me meet with you and learn what you do because I'm curious. And that was effort. And that was effort that didn't come with pay. That was effort that didn't come with anything more than Well, the pay was
Yeah.
brain power. The pay was education.
Yep. Creating value
learning.
within yourself, right? Trying to
Yeah.
make yourself more
Invest in-
valuable.
invest in yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you join up with this developer, and you're just like learning the ropes, right?
Yeah.
You're rolling up your sleeves. Like, where did that go? How did that relationship kind of get fostered?
Yeah, so around 2003, then I was like, hey, I'm going to get my contractor's license.
Okay.
And so I call, my friend whose dad has been a builder his whole life, and I said, hey, you're moving back to Oregon, we're going to start a company, we're going to build houses. And he's like, no, we're not. So I said, oh, let's do it, come on. So we did it. And that was really, there's some really fun times with that, because again, you're just learning a ton of stuff. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing the first time I'm up high on a roof or framing a deck, I did not enjoy that. Like you gotta learn it and you gotta do it. So yeah, it was trial by fire.
Were you in the trenches then? You were actually doing the work yourself.
Some of
You
it,
weren't-
yeah.
You weren't just a GC at this point in time.
No, I would, we subbed a lot out, but there was work we would do on site too. And that was, for me, on purpose. I wanted to learn the process. So
Well, there's
if
this
I
scrappiness.
wasn't good at it sometimes. I wasn't fast, at it sometimes, but I wanted to learn how it worked. So
Self-performance is, yeah. Well, part of it's timelines, right?
yeah. And you don't want to do it forever either. Once you've done it, it's like,
Yes.
okay, now I need to, but
100%. Well,
yeah,
yeah.
I can appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I ran a painting business in college, and like part of like the training to run the painting business was that you had to actually paint a house yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So you'd have to go there. You would have to literally sit there and like learn about the prep work. Then you learn about the sprayer, and then you learn about like doing the trim work, and then you got to clean up. Then you also have to like talk to the customer, and it's like you have to learn that before you can like lead. Yeah. Like that's like so important. Did you started your own business there?
Yeah.
Was you guys?
Yeah.
No, was that is it MC Northwest,
yeah.
right? So that started in
2003, 2004.
2003. Okay, okay. So because just so everybody who's listening or watching knows, I bought a duplex from you.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to go drive through Kaiser, there's a little neighborhood where this, I'm not going to say the street because I want somebody to find it, but you'll know the house because there's two doors, right? It's a duplex, and one door is gold, the other one is green.
Oh.
That was a little
Dirty gold, yeah.
little touch we put on it. But that's when I found you, and that was a great relationship we had. I think you guys did an excellent job building that house, and the communications, and kind of even the follow up afterwards was fantastic. Like bridge the gap between like that was 17, 18,
Yeah, probably around there.
from 2003. Like there was obviously a big recession time.
Oh, that was scary. Yeah.
Well, what happened there for you?
We, we like a lot of developers, we got stuck with a lot of land, so we had to work it out with a bank and really just say, hey, let us work our way through it. We will, and we'll adjust to the market. So we changed our, our floor plans, we changed our specs, did whatever we could to find the market, and that was extremely valuable in hindsight. Like, rather than being stuck in your ways, I'm going to build this product for this customer, and it was like, where's the market right now? And in Salem, you've been here a long time. Forever in Salem, everything was price per square foot, right? We started thinking, what is price point look like? Where are the price points that are moving? And what is the biggest, nicest houses we can fit inside that price point and still make a little bit of money and get out of this project? So we started approaching it that way, offering some value to the people looking for homes and within a price point. So maybe it was price per square foot was a little bit higher sometimes, but they were getting a nice product and it was in their price range.
Yep.
So that kind of moved us through that time. And it also, again, you learn a lot about, adjusting to the climate and, changing.
The flexibility, I mean, that's something that goes across all borders. The property you're currently at 45th Parallel, that's what we had to learn was price per square foot, which is what the landlord wanted. It was not what the client needed. And in that scenario, we shrunk it all, micro everything, fit their budget.
Yep.
Right? And in this scenario, I love how you reinvent that, because a lot of people have their product and they have a hard time, whatever that product is, being nimble enough and flexible enough to adjust to consumer value. And the adjustments let's call it, from someone not in that target market may seem small.
Yeah.
But the adjustments to that person who wanted the little bit bigger open area, that little bit different
Back patio,
kitchen space,
you know,
that back patio with the indoor outdoor fire pit built in, right? May not have needed the square footage.
Yeah.
May have just wanted a bit, and that's, I mean, shoot, even the verticrossing, right, project. Their whole model was hard surface countertops, stainless steel appliances, shrink the floor plan, give some vault to those ceilings, and just make it feel different. That people don't need, at some levels, more space. They really don't.
Yeah.
It was just they couldn't find that finish level
Yep.
until they hit a certain level. So you effectively increased the finish levels within smaller square foot plans
Yep.
to work your way through that downturn.
Yeah. Figure out what amenities people want. And there's trial and error on that, right? There's,
Yep.
There's
Did some spec.
some houses that didn't
Yeah.
move as well as others, right? So
Got
we
it.
figured it out.
Yeah, and at some point in time, I think this is when you must have met Bruce, and because I know his group was, because I've met them previous through you.
Yeah.
And they were doing hard money lending,
Yep.
right? And is that kind of how you connected with him?
Yeah, I started with a gentleman named Jim Ryman, and he passed away a couple years ago. But I met him, and he said, "Hey, I want you and Caleb to borrow money from me, and I'm going to give you lots, access to lots. I'll loan you the money for them and the construction, and we're going to go that way." And actually, I take that back because if Tim Smith listens, he's the one who started that. Then he introduced me to Tim. Or to Jim.
Got it.
But yeah, so Jim, Tim, and a guy named Lee Shatoon saw something in us, and so they said, "We've got dirt, we've got lots, we've got to move. We know the economy's not good. You guys have a good track record. Let's work together. You know, we'll loan you money, and you build your way out of our lots."
So the value you built on the construction side with the innovation, the communication style, your effort,
Yeah, we got a good reputation.
you had this crony Kaiser group
Yeah,
of
Kaiser Mafia.
investors that, the Kaiser Mafia that had good pedigree, right?
Yep.
But didn't want to work as hard. They wanted to add you. They wanted to, okay, got it.
And it worked. And then at some point, Jim said, "You got to meet our friend Bruce,
Okay.
and he's a great guy, and he'd probably get involved too." And so it led to that, and that led to, "Hey, you need to come out, have lunch with us more often. You need to spend some more time with us and ask us questions." So I could, I'd go to lunch or go to their office, and it was nothing off the table. So I could ask any question I want about economy or, history of Salem and developing and all that stuff, and start learning more about that. And as far as the economics of things, I really learned a lot from them. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I've been to a few of these
Yeah.
lunches, right? And what I appreciate about your group is that there is an openness, and it's the same with Clutch as well. Come to a meeting, show up. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to,
Yep.
and just listen, right? And you can ask some questions if you want, but like an opportunity to like a forum for people just to come and show up and ask your questions, learn a little bit, and if you're like humble and you want to learn, like you have this great growth mindset. It's like, oh my gosh, like these guys have done a lot of like really successful building and business running and everything. It's like you can learn so much.
Oh,
So, I love that that mentality. So where were you feeling like when you met Bruce about the construction business? Like were you wanting to move on, or were you just kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I knew eventually especially after spending some time with Lee and Tim and Jim is, all these guys have sayings. I'm going to write a book someday. Well, just their sayings. But
oh, they do. They're great.
but I remember Jim told me that, you can only work so many hours a day. You can have a staff. They can only work so many hours a day. But your capital never stops working. It's 7 days a week, 365 days a year, your capital works, and that's 24 hours a day. So you need to figure out, you can make a great living as a builder. That's fine. But if you can figure out how to make your capital work for you, you'll make an extremely good living and be able to provide for, kids and grandkids. So that kind of changed my mindset in thinking about, okay, how do they do these things and how can I start doing these things? But that was the one that really got me thinking about doing things differently was, make something work for you 24 hours a day, every day of the year.
Okay, so I gotta I got to shift gears a little bit. First of all, remind me again, when did you start with State Investments?
2000. So yeah, October 2019. Kelly Douglas and Bruce Douglas came into my office and said,
Yeah.
"We need you to, step in and be our CEO, and you're going to sell your business, or your half of the business, your partner, and do that."
So this was the funny part because, whether you know it or not, I gave you an assist.
Yeah.
And I think you know this at this point. I think we discussed it, but we had some interactions around Kaiser land use, right? I was very involved with City of Kaiser on their commissions. I was in real estate now, right? Reinventing myself for the 7th time, right? So I think we connected also on a Claxter project, right? I was, and my reputation was just given 2 years, there'll be a new, right? Reinvention, right? Just 2 years, new reinvention. But I was directed to meet with Bruce, like 3 different people.
Yeah.
Said core, this, that, and the other, and I believe I ended up meeting with Bruce for lunch. And it was, that is probably the beginning of the transmitter piece where he was just so worn out, and so he had a courtesy because he was looking to fill a position. Right, I was on this list as one of the 3 check marks before they hired me. And you're welcome, because when I came in there and just did my thing, it made you look so much better. I have a lot to handle on a first meeting.
That's probably why, it's really good to go from you, right, to somebody else, right? Because it's just like, I don't even know what just happened. I just a whirlwind. He pitched me 5 deals, 6 ways from Sunday, and now I get to go over here and talk to this dude who's a lot more chill.
Well, I had energy to bring to the table, and it was evident that Bruce was less interested in energy and more interested in very controlled output, right? Just positive controlled output, and I was
You weren't that.
not controlled.
Yeah, you were like the Ghostbusters, like when they're sitting there like trying to take out the ghost. You're just like proton pack everywhere, just like flying. So I'm curious, like diving into like that meeting. So what I already know about it is that Bruce and Kelly handpicked you, and Kelly is Bruce's daughter, just for everybody who's listening.
She's everybody's boss.
Yeah, and she's a wonderfully bright, sociable woman. I've loved every interaction I've had with her. So they handpicked you. What did they see in you that they didn't see in somebody else?
I don't know. I think part of it is the fact that I was willing to learn all the time when I was spending time with them and with, at lunches and asking questions, and the fact that I just always wanted to learn something. I think that was a valuable trait to them. So, and the fact that we've been able to make it through a recession and figure out ways to adjust and survive and all that stuff. So, I think those traits appeal to them. So, because I flat out said, I don't know how to do what you do. And he goes, "I'll teach you." So I said, "Okay."
And he would just say that, just kind of like blasé.
It'll be easy.
What a good
It was
nugget.
not easy, but it was drinking from a fire hose. But it's been so much fun.
What a good nugget, though. Being coachable,
Yeah.
being inquisitive, and being coachable. So more than I'm in the
asking for
employer side, not the employee side. That's really what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for
Yeah.
someone that can prove to me that their system's better and that they're the master. I'm looking for someone that's willing to fit within a system that's in large part in place.
Yeah. I agree.
But now your temperament, your ability to find solutions, right? Right. That scorecard wasn't even close, right? So they did well.
It's different paths.
They did well.
Now walking into State Investments, tell me like a quick kind of history of the company up to that point in time.
They're a family business, and they were in the petroleum business for a long time, and they realized that with DEQ and everything else picking up, the environmental concerns were serious, right? And so they realized they didn't want to be in properties that potentially could be contaminated environmentally, dirty. So they cleaned up all their properties. As they cleaned them up, and they spent a lot of money cleaning up their properties, they'd sell them, you know, in the business. And finally, they got out of the petroleum business. And with the proceeds from that, they started buying commercial properties, some multifamily, things like that. And that's kind of how they started the business. And that's kind of in a nutshell. They figured out that that's the way forward for them.
So basically going from one business, selling that business, taking the proceeds then, and going into real estate. What was their reasoning for like real estate as an asset? They could have gotten into a lot of different assets.
Yeah, they obviously they could have done anything they wanted to do. I think it's just, you know, you look at the growth pattern of real estate, it's you know, it's always going to grow as an asset,
I gotta.
except for single family.
I think from a business plan standpoint, there's a very compelling argument. But I think from a tax perspective, like a lot of people when they're looking to transfer assets,
Yeah.
real estate, especially through the vehicle of 1031 exchange,
Yeah.
that probably played a role in
Yeah. There have been some 1031s.
in
Some of them went well.
that initial transition.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean that initial transition because you're going to have a business component, but there's a real estate asset that goes with it. And
Yeah. That's a lot to navigate. Exactly.
And then what about, can you share? Can you go behind the kimono? There's lots of different business plans in real estate. And this is something we brought up on a previous episode, right? The word developer is mud, right? If you're a developer, you're like the enemy for some reason.
Yeah.
In local politics, right? Developers just have all the money and all they do is they suck it out of the communities. And the crazy part about that communication is that in every other aspect, the word development means growing.
Yeah.
If you're developing young kids, you're a coach, right? If
Yep.
you're developing or redeveloping someone, you're a trainer. If you're,
Yeah.
and so why is this word development such a bad word? But I'm like, in this scenario, I would argue state investments has an incredible reputation as a landlord.
Yeah, we try. That's you know, we develop and hold. We don't sell unless we, you know, occasionally we'll have a partner in a project and they want out, and then that's if buying them out isn't the right option, then we sell. But other than that, we develop, buy and hold, and then after that, we treat every, you know, tenant, you know, like a customer. And so we treat them well, we treat our properties well, and typically you can go around, see our properties and know that those properties we own because we do our best to make sure that we're taking care of the properties. And it's not only just for us to protect the asset, but it's also to provide a place for our customers to hang their hat and be happy there. So we try really hard to make sure we have a good relationship with all of our tenants, and I think that's worked well. As you know, turnover is expensive. So if you can keep people happy and, you know, keep them in there and keep taking care of your property, and so they feel like there's value where they're at, they're gonna stay and be happy.
I love learning different business plans with developers.
Yeah.
And, you know, what's interesting is like 90% of market rates is one business plan. Just keep your tenants comfortable and don't always push the issue,
Yeah.
right? And that's a business plan. Your business plan, like Weeds In or their, you know, state investments as a whole business plan, very similar to your construction choices in the downturn.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that we're in tune enough to add a little bit more value to keep them in place?
Yeah, and you've been a great tool for that, because a lot of times I'll check in with you. Hey, what's market rate for this type of project or this type of property? And if we're below market rate, we'll start working on how can we get up closer to market without offending our existing tenants.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has been also adding value to the building. You know, make
Yeah.
it a nicer building. You know, add some amenities to the property to make them feel like we care, and because we do. And so if we can show that we're trying to improve the place where they're doing business, and say yes, and you're under market rate, and we're trying to get closer to market, and we're also trying to make sure we're taking care of the property. So that is usually a really good communication that works out well for us.
Oh, we may not be ready to move on to the next component, but I think this is the right transition point. How do we take that business plan that's been very successful for state investments, that I would argue has given you a brand and a reputation that is above the pack, the median of what we would call developers, right? That four-letter word. How do we take that principle and infuse it in a community? how do we take listening and adding just a little bit more value so that we can, and when we call it market rate, this isn't about money.
Yeah.
How do we level up
Yep.
Salem, and how do we level up a downtown, and how do we add that little bit more value that brings people back out, that
Yeah.
helps us improve livability? Because with kids, we've all got kids, and mortgaging the future is what our financial system has proven to do in the historical view that I am at least reviewing. You own a block of downtown with state investments. You've got properties that are spread out, but you got key properties in South Salem. How do we take those principles and infuse them into Salem?
The culture of Salem.
Yeah.
That's a lot to unpack, man.
Let's go.
Peyton's really good at asking a question, but taking like 2 minutes to get there. And asking like 3 questions along the way. So if you understand the question, that I'm ready to hear your answer.
If not, Nat will interpret.
Yeah. Should I interpret, or are you ready?
Boy, there's so many components to that, right?
Yep.
Because I do think that right now, the private sector is all on board with trying to make Salem a better place. I don't think the public sector is in Salem, and so I'm going to offend some people, but
Okay.
I don't think, the city has managed its asset well. And when I say asset, I'm talking about the city of Salem, our home, where we live, where people live. I don't think it's been managed well. And so it's been kind of depressing for some people. So I think that falls a lot on the public sector. So I see the downtown associations and everything else trying to clean up downtown and trying to create a culture downtown where people come back. But it's citywide, right? There needs to be pride in the whole city. We have parks that are not even usable for the kids all over the city. We don't have any programming at all. No parks district. So we go up to 12 Mills. We go up to Beaverton, all these places, and there's a parks district, and there's parks, and there's kids playing in the parks, and they're clean, and you hear it all the time from parents of, for me with soccer, you hear the soccer parents say, "Holy crow, it's so nice up there," what they're getting for their tax dollars, or what they're, the value they get living there, and then they come home to here and it's not that. And so I think it's not just the parks, it's just in general, we've fallen behind. So
I'll give an analogy.
there's my soapbox.
No, I'm going to give an analogy. I like this because I can get more focused now. We're in let's call it a rehab home. The bones are here.
Yep.
We got the river. We got the waterfront. We got the bones are
There are amenities here.
And there are existing amenities we can build on.
Yeah.
We're in the center of the wine country. We're in the center of the state. So bones are here. However, our home has been neglected for one reason or another. Let's not focus on why it was neglected.
Yeah.
The flooring needs updated. The paint needs updated. So I'm going to give a house analogy,
Yeah.
right? And so when you're rehabbing a home, but you're on a budget, maybe we don't have the financing to do the full-blown remodel in 1 year.
Yep.
So you start in one room of the house. You
Yep.
start with a couple strategic investments, and you can go back to your real estate days. All right, trying to sell this house. It's a tough market.
Yep.
Today's market. Where do I put my money? I got 30 grand. I don't have 175. Where do I put it
Yep.
to sell my home? So now let's take that same analogy and say,
spend time in the house, the kitchen, right?
it's where you. Oh no, I love where this is
So-
going. So it's where you spend your time in the house. Okay, so put your money where you spend your time in the house. So now in a community, if we were to pick one room at a time, just to improve one room at a time, it's where you spend your time in the house. So in the city of Salem, if we were to focus energy, focus efforts,
Everybody
what are
goes to
those areas
downtown.
that we spend the time in a house?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Everybody drives to downtown. It's central.
So downtown's the kitchen
Yeah, and that's
Or the living room.
Yeah,
Okay.
or the living room.
master bedroom, but whatever. But
It's kitchen.
it's important.
Yeah.
But and I do think I think Clutch, you guys, Pat Carney and his partners, everybody's. I mean, there's some efforts going on down here that I really respect, and that's kind of hopefully the kickoff to something better. but I would like to see more support coming in for that. Like I said, it's tough when the private sector is doing it on their own with no support. You know, if there needs to be more support too, and not just financial, but just the willingness to, you know, back up what you guys are trying to do down here. So,
The public sector moves slower, which is often just a variable that's hard to
that's
navigate.
the nature of it. Yeah.
Right? But in my opinion, part of the move slower is the public sector, in large part, tries to solve 10 and 20-year issues and tries to solve all of it because they're trying to keep everyone happy.
With one solution.
Yep. And, you know, my argument is one way we could refocus local communications is how do we get some small wins? How do we install the fireplace?
Yeah.
How do we adjust this portion of the landscape? How do we put new appliances in the kitchen? I'm saying these as a metaphor clearly, but how do we pick parks that are the most used parks to start with? Not all parks.
Yeah.
Park. And then the problem is you're picking winners and losers, but welcome to politics.
It's as long as the goal is to get to every park, right? You have to start somewhere.
selfless plug.
But
Or, you know, selfish.
Yes.
Not selfish.
I was gonna say.
selfish plug. Yeah, but selfless. A pitch that our team stack has been mulling around yesterday as a group with energy is, well, how do we take some of these landscapes of buildings and make them art as a reason to come back downtown, as a reason to celebrate, as a reason for energy, and as a small, how do we take 1 month of parking revenue in December that they've not even decided what to do with and give a gift to the town of art and community? Just as a, and I think you know as much as anything that some of those improvements you did that worked on those homes in the downturn, it was like the fire pit that sold it.
Yeah.
It was the fountain that sold it. It was the, you know.
yeah, you somebody walks into your home and they say, "I can see myself living here.
Yeah.
I can see myself enjoying it."
Sizzle factor is what I used to refer to it in residential real estate, right? What sizzles, right?
Yeah.
What gets you downtown, right? What gets you there? But I think that we've noticed that, right? Coming in as an outsider coming in, noticed, you know, there isn't as much public support as we would like. And with Stack, what we've tried to focus on is what we can control.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious, like what one thing you would choose to do if it were, you know, if we put the, you know, the public, you know, support out of here, right? Those resources are gone. It's just the private sector. Like, what would you do downtown to get people to come back downtown to make it, you know, just more livable?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's so many, like we said, they're trying to solve everything with one solution, and there's so many problems that require so many solutions. And but I think on our side of things, making it more livable, we've got apartments coming in downtown. We've got people now starting to live downtown. So where's the nearest grocery store? You know, Safeway, or going across the bridge to Ross.
Well, that's interesting. So,
So are we walkable? We're trying to make this downtown area livable downtown, but we're not walkable yet. So
is that an area the public could walk alongside and subsidize?
I asked that once to a mayoral candidate when I was part of the political action committee for the home builders. But you know, said, is there any incentives you could give to an organization, you know, Ross, Trader Joe's, whatever, you know, Whole Foods, to some tax incentives for them to put a grocery store downtown because we have vacant buildings? And the answer was, well, why would I do that? I live downtown and I go to the Ross in West Salem. I said, but you just told me you want everybody on bikes and walking. So you can't have both ways.
Right. Can't put your groceries.
This
in
is
the
interesting. What do you think is the biggest roadblock? I have a communication, but to a grocery store wanting to be in a downtown core.
Yeah.
What do you think their number one obstacle is that they got to get past before they move on?
Parking's a big one.
Okay.
And,
What else?
You know, we have a population downtown that may not treat downtown very well.
No,
So-
but I would argue that the control within that small space, right? The walkable space of ensuring people feel comfortable to walk. And then also the theft and the pettiness, you know, the petty crime correlation has been the biggest obstacle I've seen. And for example, I would love to get some sort of a
this
right
buil-
here in this building.
this
We're
building
sitting right
needs
here
it.
in the J.C. Penney building.
You got a parking garage. This is perfect location for it, and you got to provide an atmosphere where they do feel safe. Can I go to my car with my groceries and feel safe with my kids also, right?
Well, we've got what started as a second floor women's collective that's now turning into a women's building.
Yeah.
Right next door, we've got a congregation of restaurants that would utilize
Right.
a grocer. Right, we've got the stuff in place, but I would argue the one thing the city could do is create a rule in McMinnville. I mean, when we had Patrick on and Kelly next door, McMinnville has a rule that in your, we'll call it living room or in your kitchen, right, which is your downtown core, that we don't have to wait for crime to remove.
Right.
That compassion is not allowing in place. Compassion is connecting to resources.
Yep.
And I think that's the intersection that I see is redefining what truly is compassion for this community. And I love what Church on the Park, right? DJ Vincent, right? Sidewalks and streets are not enough, right? That's not compassion, allowing that.
It's not serving the greater good.
But even just what is the greater good, it's not connecting them with the resources, the housing, the safety that they need.
Yeah.
And I think we can't start with the whole community. You're right. That one solution that fixes all but I'm with you. That
Bazooka.
I think that grocery is a key component. Like landing grocery, what you need to do to land grocery tells you what you need to solve that. I really appreciate that comment.
It would add vibrancy to the downtown area, where then you're not leaving the downtown area. If you live downtown, there's entertainment, there's food, there's grocery, you're spending more time downtown.
Matt believes that the way to bring the sizzle is to just throw a party every Friday and Saturday, 52 weeks a year. So that's what he's going to be doing in this space right here in the background, right? Is to party
The entertainment
every weekend, every week of the year.
We're gonna be there every Friday, Saturday night. My wife's gonna love me for that. I can't wait.
We'll just get her some glow sticks.
Yeah. I do want to. We're running out of time. I do want to shift really quickly over to your relationship with CFC and soccer in Salem, because I know that is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
And I know our hearts. AJ is a sponsor for the club.
Got
And-
kids at the club.
Yeah, I got kids in the club. My kids play against your club, and I will say, like what I love about CFC and what Colin has done as director of your club, and what you have done as a leader is you've created a community where maybe it's not as resourceful or has the resources, I should say, as like a Lake Oswego, maybe, right? But what you're doing right now is you've bought fields, right? You bought land. You're building like a new facility. You have all these great tournaments, and there's also the way you play, like the way you play soccer. Like when I was coaching my kids and trying to figure out how 77 was going to be structured, I never done it. I called up Colin, and I said, hey, like Colin, can you help me understand where this goes? There's a vertical integration from the 77 to the 99 to the 11.
Yeah, because you're bringing in the wings. And
Yeah, and I was like, it made sense. And I was like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. And so like playing against your teams, I've always been like just impressed by that. So like, can you just talk really quickly about that relationship with CFC and why you're there as like your president of the board, right?
Yeah. I've got the honor to serve as president of the board. We started playing there. My kids, we moved over there probably 2017, 2018, something like that. And as I got to know Colin, I started believing in what he wanted to do. His mission is soccer's the carrot. The demographic there, right? There's a lot of underserved families and kids out there. So soccer's the carrot to get everybody there. And then, how do we build a better community, better culture, and prepare these kids to be great citizens. Either if they stay in our community or if they move on to another community. We want our kids to leave being great citizens and be able to, contribute to society. And I loved his passion for that. So I was like, I'm in, so I'm part of this. And so I got on the board and we just started figuring out, it took me a while to learn how things work. But that's part of the, the learning that we talked about and relationship building. So now we're at the point where we have built relationships with people in the community that are philanthropic, that are willing to believe in what we're doing and help us and see what we do as a value and investment in the community. And then also we have a little more access to policymakers and they're starting to see the impact we have on the community. You know, there's a financial impact, these tournaments we have, and other stuff. We have teams coming in, spending a weekend here from all over the, you know, West Coast sometimes. So that's bringing in money into our community. And so there's a financial impact that I think people are starting to respect in the policy side. And they also are seeing what we can do because of, we just talked about the problems downtown and the transient population and the problems we're having there. What if we can reach the kids when they're this big and teach them how to be good citizens and contribute to society and be willing to be coached to learn all this stuff. So that way we're solving that problem now rather than waiting for it to happen again. So that's my passion there. Along with then obviously teaching proper soccer, you know, proper football.
Yeah,
But
you were a coach for a while, right?
yeah, I still help out. The rule's always been I don't coach, head coach. I don't have time for it, but also I won't coach a team that my kids aren't on because I don't want to miss their games. So I've been lucky enough where they allow me to help out and be an assistant where needed if my kids are on that team. And so that's
The
been
best role.
Oh, it's been incredible. So it's so rewarding. But
Don't have to deal with the other parents. Get to deal with just the kids
Exactly.
while you're there. Yeah, it's the best role.
yeah, it is. It's so fun. But yeah, I love that part. Also being able to teach them the game. You know, the little stuff, body positioning. You know, if you're, you know, how do you position your body when you're receiving the ball? What do you see? All these little technicalities that I wasn't taught until I was older. And you know, if I had those resources at that age and coaches teaching me this stuff, holy crow, that'd been awesome.
I think we all would.
I know, you know, and America's a little bit behind on that.
Yeah,
We're trying to catch up.
We are. But I love that, and I'm glad we get to kind of finish our conversation on soccer, which is what really
Yeah.
brought all of us together, and I think what we're all very passionate about. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your story, and thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Have You Lives.
Good fun.
And we're gonna have to have you on again very, very soon.
I'll do it again.
All right, you sure? Yeah, AJ didn't wear you out too much. Yeah, maybe we'll need to bring Bruce.
I've got a
on with us.
tolerance for these.
Yeah, you gotta understand.
It's
So,
like a strong cup of coffee. Yeah.
or like a shot of whiskey. All right.